Welcome to Startup Hacks, a We Global podcast. We explore the stories and secret strategies that women entrepreneurs use to save time and money when bootstrapping and building their businesses. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapina. Welcome back to another episode of Startup Hacks. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapina, and today I'm so excited to welcome Ada Chen. Ada is the CEO and founder of the Cultivate Method, the modern marketing method for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Her mission is to make the world a better place, and she's deeply passionate about empowering entrepreneurs. Prior to founding the Cultivate Method, Ada was the product marketing lead for Atlassian's Confluence product and began her career in the startup world. Welcome, Ada. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. I'd like to begin by having you share a little bit about your personal journey and your background with the audience.
I'm speaking to you today from my house in Denver, Colorado, but I actually am not from here. I'm a relatively recent transplant. So I grew up the child of two immigrants from Taiwan in New Jersey, went to school in New York, studied finance and actually pursued it pre-professionally. Worked my way through school and decided that at the end of all of that, countless thousands of hours spent in these high-rise buildings, that I didn't really want to be an investment banker. So I actually ended up hightailing it out of the East Coast and moving to San Francisco, where I worked at some HR tech startups for a few years and really got in kind of very early on to build their products and get them out into the market before I took a more corporate job at Atlassian, where I was there for a few years just until this past March. And also worked my way up there in product marketing. So I got to learn a whole lot about marketing and now have kind of taken a step back. I always knew I wanted to start my own business. And up until, this year, had no idea what I wanted to do for that business and was really inspired kind of this year to take the skills that I've been building in my career so far in the tech world and actually make them available for entrepreneurs, startups, and solo entrepreneurs and founders outside of, Silicon Valley, where I was.
So thank you. Thank you for that. I'm wondering if you could take us back to, those final year or final months when you were working at your last corporate position, and some of the thoughts that were running through your head at the time that maybe were nagging at you to leave, start your own business, or maybe it was lifestyle choices that kind of drove you to make that decision. Because many entrepreneurs are afraid to make the leap. Many people kind of think about an idea or something they're really passionate about, but put it off for a long time, and then there's usually an inciting incident which gets them to kind of step off the cliff, so to speak.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I want to say the last 9 months to a year, weren't the smoothest on my end because I was trying to navigate, what do I want to do next in my career, and kind of really pinpointing what my next steps were. And, being in a corporate environment, I got a little comfortable. I'm not afraid to admit that. It was great to have opportunity to almost endless amounts of resources and, a team to support me. As well as some of the perks like travel and all of that stuff. But what really pushed it over the edge was my partner had relocated from the Bay Area to Colorado for his job. His whole company had actually relocated here. And I had brought it up to, my boss's boss, and many other folks in my department and in other departments. And, there was just no way that they could figure out for me to work remotely. And it wasn't really a very different place I'd be. And a lot of the team I actually worked with is based in Sydney, Australia. And so they had no idea where in the US I was at any given point. And so when push came to shove, we really couldn't figure it out. The policy, this was pre-COVID, hadn't been worked out. I said, you know what? I am choosing my relationship, my lifestyle, so to speak, above this kind of corporate job that's holding me here. And I did kind of have to trust that it would work itself out. And I worked with a really great professional, career coach to figure out what my next steps were, to the point where when I did move in March and leave my job, it did feel like the right step for me to be doing that.
And was that a scary time?
Oh, it was crazy. I left San Francisco the day that the city went into lockdown. San Francisco was the first city in the US to go into a partial or a full lockdown. And so I was really packing everything up a few weeks earlier than I had expected, kind of checking things in suitcases and scrambling to the airport just to make it to our house in Denver in time, because we had no idea what was going to be happening. I had no idea what would be going on in the world. I went through an ideation process, shortly after leaving my job, to figure out what are my different options, what do I want to work on, because I knew I wanted to do something impactful that I would want to work on for 10, 20, 30 years down the line, hopefully well into retirement age. And so that was definitely quite scary. And then, I had some family health issues come up that I had to start dealing with a few months into that. And so that kind of threw another bit of uncertainty into everything I was juggling.
Wow. So once you got to Denver and got set up, it sounds like, you're literally launching in the middle of a global pandemic, which is, pretty challenging. Although a lot of people say that some of the best startups happen in a time of complete global crisis. But it's not for the faint of heart, right? So walk us through that journey, how you set up your business, what the Cultivate Method is all about, and your own discovery of the why behind your passion for the company.
Yeah, so like I said, I went through kind of an ideation process. I wrote down quite a long list of different ideas that I had for projects I wanted to work on, or companies or business ideas that I had, and they were all over the place because, I think everyone is very multifaceted and has different interests. And for me, I wanted to find something that I wanted to work on that could not only leverage a lot of the professional skills that I had learned in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, but could also, do some good in the world. And so that basically led me to creating the Cultivate Method, which is a company I started to provide free and paid resources for small business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, even, solo marketing teams, which I have been before, to learn more about marketing. And I saw, if you will recall, that at the beginning of lockdown in many places, a lot of businesses, it seemed like anywhere you'd shopped or dined in the last 10 years, sent you an email. And I saw a lot of these emails. And a lot of them, my heart ached a lot for the entrepreneurs sending them, but with my marketing hat on, I was just screaming into the void. I was like, you're doing this one thing wrong. Like, you could fix one little thing, and I'm sure this would be way more effective in conveying your message. And so I really saw a need in terms of the entrepreneurial community for support and learning around marketing, because there was a lot of, not as efficient marketing going on, like those emails I said, or even folks spending money on social media ads that they didn't necessarily know generated sales for them. And I just felt like if I could educate everyone on what's effective, what's not, and how to prioritize their marketing, and really how to think about it from the lens of someone who's been doing it on behalf of startups and corporations, then that could help so many other businesses. And when I got to researching to see if anything existed like this, everything I found was really focused on, marketing tips for marketers. And it was really technical. And I was like, there's no way that anybody with their own business has the time or the energy to read this technical stuff, nor do they have the energy to figure out what all this jargon means. And so the Cultivate Method is really about distilling down all of those big ideas and tips and tricks you see about marketing and making it really tactical so that you can actually use it and apply it to your own business.
And that's fantastic. It's so needed. And it sounds like you're focused on small business owners, but also on entrepreneurs who are starting out and launching their website, et cetera. What has been kind of the feedback from your customers?
Yeah, the feedback's been great. Surprisingly, I launched it. I talked to a few friends in all different industries in terms of, their entrepreneurship journeys. I talked to folks who are consultants, who are creative entrepreneurs, who have small businesses like a restaurant or a coffee shop. And I really got a good cross section and showed them some advanced copies of the ebook I was publishing and some of the work I was putting out there, and they were very excited. But I really didn't know, would anyone actually pay me for this? And surprisingly, on the first day that my website was out, I happened to be hosting a workshop online, and someone did, and I was pleasantly surprised that the feedback kept coming from there, and it was positive, and folks were really inspired to read more and learn more and really take control of their business's marketing, because they could see that it was a huge part of where they could grow. And it was also something that was, I don't know if down to earth is the right way to put it, but accessible, and written in a way where you or I, if we didn't have any background in marketing or advertising or any of that, could read something for 5 minutes and come away with some really tactical takeaways to actually apply some of those strategies to your business and see some immediate results, which is great. And some of the quotes I've been getting back are just they make they make me so happy.
That's awesome. I want to see that ebook, so we'll talk offline. But and we should actually make it available through our site as well, so that people can access it. Let me ask you, for listeners, because I don't think there's anybody who's not in business, whether it's personal marketing, your own personal brand, your small business, or as an entrepreneur starting out and building a larger company, that can't benefit from marketing advice. What do you see as kind of some of the top 3 mistakes that a lot of business owners make?
Oh man, I could talk about this forever. If I were to say my top 3 would be prioritization, sourcing ideas, and then setting expectations. And so what I mean by that is, prioritization is really key. And when you're looking at your marketing initiatives or your campaigns or even ideas that you have for things you want to do for marketing yourself or your business, you need to actually prioritize those and decide which ones to spend time on first. You can't possibly do it all, at least not all at once. And so you need to look at what will have the most impact, and how much time each of those ideas would take. And what you're looking for is some balance between something that will get you a lot of impact but won't take all of your time. So the most bang for your buck. And that's really where prioritization comes in. I think the other thing that I mentioned was making a list or gathering ideas. So often we are doing things like this, like bookmarking, something we want to buy online and coming back to it, making a Pinterest board or a mood board. For, most of the time it's shopping, let's be honest. But if you're thinking about it in terms of marketing, a lot of what professional marketers do is saving down campaigns that they find inspiring or funny or witty to just refer back to when they're thinking of new ideas. And it's almost like your own personal Pinterest board for marketing ideas. And that I find super helpful in terms of not having to reinvent the wheel every time, but being able to be inspired by others. And then expectations. You have to be able to set expectations with your customers. And as long as you can meet them, you are doing well in your marketing. Don't set yourself up for failure by setting unrealistic expectations. So a lot of the time, I'm thinking about folks who announce they're going to, sell a new product or launch something by a certain deadline. And if you think you can meet that deadline, share it. If you think you have an approximate one, share it. But if you're not sure or you aren't ready to share yet, don't share it. Don't set that expectation with your customer. There are plenty of ways around it, like, hey, it's coming soon, or hey, we're working on it, where, you can set that type of expectation with your customer. And when you do meet it, you're ending up surprising and delighting them when you are ready to share whatever your product is with them.
Got it. I mean, those are all good practical pieces of advice that I think that I'm not minimizing them. I'm just saying that, there are things that you oftentimes don't think about it as it pertains to to marketing strategy. For example, making a list when you decide you're going to design a room or refurbish a room.